better than what we've thrown it at times here in the last month and a half. We've been able to win some in spite of that, overall, but clearly that's not the goal. The goal would be to be more productive than what we've been.
That's brutal.
What?
I was surprised.
That's brutal. I know it seems weird for us in the media to be, because that would be like on television, that would not be a brutal takedown at all. It would just be actually somewhat muted commentary. But it's so rare you see a coach put it on one guy. And when you say, I know I didn't say his name, but when he says throw the football and only one guy throws the football, now here's the thing, Greg, it's not wrong. I think this will surprise people. The league leader in interceptions is Derek Carr. His passer rating is he's 26th in the league. Barely, tenths of a point ahead of Mac Jones. That's how bad he's been wild. Okay. Barely had a baby goat.
All right.
And here's the other weird thing about the Raiders. Devontae's got 1,300 yards and a dozen touchdowns. Josh Jacobs has 1,500 yards and 11 touchdowns. Like, they're skill position guys. I understand Waller's been injured. I get that. But Devontae, it's not like, oh, well, that was a bust. We traded for it, didn't work out. He's been awesome. And so I do think that the Raiders, because they can move on from Carr for $5 million in dead money, as long as he doesn't get hurt in the next couple games. Which means maybe he won't play all of the next couple games. But I think that signals to you that Josh McDaniels is done with Derek Carr's
Exactly. And I didn't want to jump the gun and go to Josh McDaniels and what he said about his quarterback, about they need to be able to throw the ball at this point in the season. But that right there, if that's not like, look, I'm looking for somebody.
Who?
He's saying Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
He's saying Tom Brady.
Tom Brady.
But he can't have 9 teams waiting on Tom Brady.
No, I'm not saying that.
If you don't get Tom Brady, what's the answer?
Well,
better than Derek Carr?
Well, that's better than Derek Carr.
No, he's saying
if you don't get Tom Brady.
Maybe you draft a guy and you finally start over.
Draft a guy.
Well, you clearly can't go back. Like you literally just called out your quarterback.
Can I show you something, Greg?
Please.
Why you have to stay with Derek Carr? When Devontae came over and it was like the Fresno State connection. Here we go. Devontae Adams celebrated Raiders trade by buying the house next to Derek Carr. So now Devontae Adams is going to lose a neighbor and a friend. Derek Carr throwing Devontae Adams like riding a bike. And how about the last one? Devontae Adams compares Derek Carr to Aaron Rodgers, calls the Raiders QB a Hall of Famer.
All right.
So if you want to move on from Derek Carr, you might lose Devontae Adams.
Here's the interesting
not contractually, but you might lose the spirit of the connection.
I wish we still had that full screen up because I could have shown it to you. In gray at the bottom of each of those headlines, you can see it on 2 of them. They have date lines on them.
I'm saying when they
You know what they all have in common? This is before Devontae started playing with Derek Carr again.
You think he...
And what? I don't
his
think
neighbor.
Listen, Wilds, you and I, we're not neighbors because you live in upstate New York up by Schenectady. But we could be neighbors and good friends. And if you were the worst in sports media at the most important thing, I don't know that I'd want to still work with you.
Well,
we could still be
buddies.
To
Fresno State.
Yeah, I mean, we could still be friends. Like, I don't think Devontae signed up for this thinking that they were going to be below 500. Carr was going to lead the league in picks, and that he was going to. Devontae's most notable moment this year was after the Chiefs game when he was so frustrated with how the game ended, he shoved the photographer. Like, I forgot about that. It hasn't exactly gone swimmingly for him, and a lot of that's the quarterback.
I'm with Nick. The box has been checked on. Hey, we were able to play together in the National Football League. Yeah. Box checked. It didn't work out. But if Josh McDaniels says, hey, Devontae, I'm thinking about going after Tom Brady. I wanted to bring it by you first to see. I know you have a relationship with Derek Carr.
He's my neighbor.
Yeah. How do you feel about that?
I think it's odd, to be honest with you. He's my neighbor. I moved here and talked to my real estate agent.
Would you be on board with that? Yeah, I'm pretty sure he would be on board. That's
coming in. Well, Albert Breer had an excellent article where he said maybe Jim Harbaugh is the answer, Greg. And he gave 3 real reasons. Reason number 1, 44-19-1 with San Francisco, so the guy can win. Reason number 2, got Alex Smith going again, and he launched Colin Kaepernick's career. Worked out. Reason number 3, the relationship in Stanford connection with Elway. So for those 3 reasons, said, hey, bring on Harbaugh. Let him win in Michigan, then come on over to Denver, fix Russ.
I'm glad you said let him win at Michigan. Jim Harbaugh, stay focused. You got a big game, college football playoffs this weekend against TCU. You stay focused, okay?
Then outside of that?
Outside of that, no. the Denver Broncos have a huge situation in front of them.
Better than what we've
Not
thrown
just
it at
filling
times
the
here.
head coach position. You have to get a guy in there that can revive Russell Wilson.
So who is
And
it?
Sean Payton.
What? Yeah, but he's not taking that job.
You can say
I understand they have Walmart money, but
yeah.
can I say something about that real quick?
Yeah.
Just real quick. Everyone is like, well, the Broncos have Walmart money. Here's the thing. 30 of 32 NFL owners have enough money that they can make any coach the highest paid coach and doesn't affect them. So the fact that you have extra billions doesn't mean, if you want to offer a coach, 30 of 32 owners could offer a coach $20 million a year and it doesn't affect them. So the fact that they have extra money to me doesn't mean
Well, there would be like $40 million. What you mean can start getting crazy?
It's not just about the money though. Like, okay, I know I've been hard on Russell Wilson, and he's been absolutely a dud. Like I talked about it yesterday, potentially him pulling bricks from his Hall of Fame pretty much legacy. So for me, if there was a guy that can come in that you just got rid of Hackett, a guy who wasn't proven, who hadn't done anything, you can't go that option again with Russell Wilson. It didn't work. You need a guy that is going to have his ear, somebody that is an offensive mastermind who's done it before. Defensively, they're good. You need to focus on that offense side of the ball. Get somebody in there that has some type of leadership skills that can get to Russell Wilson and bring him somewhat back.
So I would just like to make one note for the audience that Albert Breer, and I are saying, as a friend of the network, it should be noted, is a very vocal and very prominent Ohio State alum and fan. So adding a little, hey, Michigan could lose their coach into the story is just, I find it a little curious, but hey, maybe he's got great Michigan sources. Here's the deal. Jim Harbaugh's not fixing this. Sean Payton's not fixing this. There's no fixing it. It's just a disaster. And the thing is this. Everybody talks about this being the worst trade in NFL history, and it's a bad one. Now, we might have had the two worst trades in NFL history this offseason because the Browns-Deshaun Watson trade, I don't know if anyone's watched him play football the last month, but that one, the early returns are not great, and there's obviously a lot of, let's call it baggage associated with that player that is not associated with Russell Wilson. But the disaster is not the trade. The trade is just draft picks, and teams miss on draft picks. It stinks, but it's recoverable. The disaster is the contract. And this, to me, was such an unforced error. Aaron Rodgers had 1 year left on his deal and wanted a new contract and was kind of loud about it and got it. Okay. Matt Stafford had 1 year left on his deal and had just won a Super Bowl. Do they right now kind of wish they hadn't tied themselves to Stafford given the injuries? Maybe, but you had to do it. Russell Wilson had 2 years left on his deal for a team that he wanted to go to. He was not going to sit out.
No.
They had no, and had they not signed him to the extension, it's not like they would cut him after this year.
But why did they do it? To be nice?
I think some teams feel that we have to send the message to our locker room that we're all in on the quarterback. But like with Kyler, so there's two disastrous contracts that were handed out way early this summer. Kyler and Russ. With Kyler almost had more leverage than the Russ, which is he's such an unpredictable personality. I think the Cardinals were like, man, he might hold us hostage here.
Yeah.
He did his social
You
media.
know what I mean? Like he's gonna create discord. Russ's entire brand is Mr. Team, Mr. Continuity. Even if he was livid, he didn't get the contract. He wouldn't have. He'd have never told us.
You'd have been there.
And you'd have gotten to see him for a year. But they were so certain that the Seahawks were idiots. They were just certain that Pete Carroll and his Super Bowl, and I believe his future Hall of Fame bust, his resume is only burnishing while Russ is going in the wrong direction, that they just didn't know what they were doing. They said, not only will we give you the 4 players and the 5 picks, we're going to give him one of the best contracts in football. And now they are just stuck for the next 3 years.
So go coachless, you're saying?
No, I think that what Stink has said is correct. I think you actually go, I don't think you go with a quarterback whisperer. I think you go with a Pete Carroll type of coach. Guy that's going to coach up the defense, try to win low-scoring games, run the football, and work within the limitations of your quarterback. I don't think there is fixing Russell Wilson.
Gosh,
I think it's working around Russell Wilson.
Boring recipe, though. Well, I don't think Sean Payton.
They've got the
wants to go.
longest
They got
playoff drought in the league in Denver.
Never beaten Patrick Mahomes. Did you know that?
No, I did know that.
Drops my guy Ben Matherin. Pels win again. Frisky. Not
at the
good enough to
Bengals.
make
Oh,
medal
they're
stand.
more than frisky. The Pels are quite good. Not good enough to make medal stand, though. Bronze medal over Greg's beloved Pistons.
Come on,
The best
don't do that
comebacks
right
in
now.
NBA history.
Don't do
Paul
that.
George, 32-11. An overtime victory over those Pistons, who were up 14, I think, with like 3 minutes left. Silver medal, Darius Garland, 46-8. But not enough because, and Brew's not here, so I can say this, the Nets look really good.
Really good.
They look really good right now.